Hello, and welcome to your Week 8 Lesson 2 video. We're going to look at managing processes and aliases and command history. You should have already watched Lesson 1 where we went over symbolic and hard links, and if you haven't, I encourage you to go watch that. You may have just watched that, you may have watched that a while ago. That's the benefit of doing these in a couple parts like this, isn't it? So we're going to look at foreground and background processes and what processes are, how to run processes in the background, how to manage them. I'll give you a demonstration, of course, as always. Then we're going to look at aliases and how to utilize your command history, which we've already somewhat utilized this semester, but I'm going to do some more stuff. Of course, everything in this one maps to Tutorial 8, Investigations 1 and 2, and your review questions 3 through 8. So what are processes? Well, they're simply tasks that are running on a Unix or Linux system. We call them processes. Each process has an owner. Each process has a unique process ID. And processes keep their process ID for their entire life. Processes can also, in certain cases when needed, spawn or fork child processes. So the process that does the forking of other processes is known as a parent process. And usually when a child process is spawned, the parent process sleeps until the child process is done, whatever it's doing, and then the parent process picks up whatever it was doing. In Linux, processes are hierarchical, so they can have child processes, or grandchild or great-grandchild, and all the way down the line, etc., etc. You can look at this information using a couple different commands, ps and top. I'm going to make a note because I wasn't going to show top, but I should. So ps stands for process status, and it gives you a snapshot of what's going on. On its own, without arguments, it's just going to give you whatever's going on in your current user's terminal. So fairly limited information. -L will give you a detailed listing, so it'll give you the parent process ID and status and some more information. -EF will give you a list of all the processes running on the system. AUX, which you can include a dash or not, will give you a detailed listing of everything running on the system, including background services known as daemons. And you can even look at processes for a particular user by using the -U followed by the username. That could be interesting. So let's take a look at that. And of course then we'll look at managing them, but in order to manage them you need to be able to look at processes, right? Right. So I'm just going to clear this up from my previous video. So there's PS on its own. We don't see too much there. There's a lot there. And I'm just to show you that it works both ways, with and without the dash. Now if I want to see just processes that I have running, I could do that. And there we go. I could also run just with any other username there and see what processes another particular user is running. And this is how sysadmins tend to use this. If something funky is going on with their system, they want to see exactly what a particular user is doing so they can then take over that process or get rid of it or do whatever. And as promised, I'm going to show you the top command too. So this shows you everything that's going on the system and its resource utilization, which is kind of cool. To get out of this, of course, you just Control-C. And this is in real time. You're going to see this changes for the entire duration I have it up, as it should. Another useful command. Whoops, that's not how you spell clear. So now that we've learned about processes and what they are, let's learn on how to utilize them a little bit more. So in Unix and Linux, processes can run either in the foreground, which is what you're used to. They tie up your terminal, the commands that you issue, you see them, do things right away. And if they're going to take a long time, then they just take a long time. Alternatively, they can run in the background. And you can place processes in the background by simply placing an ampersand at the end of it. So if you know you've got a process that's going to take a long time, and you don't want to wait, you want to continue working, and you want to go check on it from time to time, you can send it to the background, and then wait for it to be finished and check on it in 15-20 minutes. Maybe you're downloading something, maybe you're installing some updates or something, and you want to be able to continue working on the system while that's going on. So I don't recommend doing that per se. That's not a good example of how to use this. Usually this is in conjunction with, you need to download a large file like an ISO because you're going to install some stuff and you're doing it from the command line. So you run it as a background process and you just keep working. Or maybe you need to copy some files over or run a backup. Now you can manage processes in the foreground with Control and C, which will just kill it, or Control Z, which will send it to the background, but it sends it as a suspended process in the background. It's stopped. You have to issue the BG command to have it run in the background again, so keep that in mind. But you can then take a command that was running in the foreground, send it to the background, and then have it run in the background with two simple commands. You needed to be able to, we were looking at processes, there's something useful there that I'm going to show you in a minute. It's the process ID, and you're going to need to know that for managing background processes. Process ID, or also job number. It's the same context, different terminology. So we can use FG, and then a process ID or a job number. A job number will always have a % in front of it, and that information is obtained from the jobs command, which I haven't used that much. I usually use PS because it does everything I need, but jobs does everything just a bit differently. And if you want to resume one in the background, you just BG and then the job number or the process ID, and you can resume something that was placed to the background. So let's take a look at some of those, and hopefully they're going to make a bit of sense. So I'm going to do this a couple different ways actually. Sleep 700, and just send it right to the background. And I can do a PS. Whoops. So I can see it's running in the background. There's its process ID. If I want to bring it back to the foreground, I can just issue FG 147579. What? Oh, wrong one. 147566. What is going on? So just on its own, I think I was typing the process ID incorrectly. There we go. So FG just brought it to the foreground. If I want to send it back to the background, I can do that. But now notice if I do a PS, it's stopped. It's not running. If I want to start it again, then I need to issue the appropriate commands. Hold on momentarily. So BG. Oops, let's run jobs. It's not working the way I want it to. Interesting. Well, BG on its own. We'll continue to run it. I don't know why it's not working with the other way. I'm doing something incorrectly. Just silly. So yeah, have at that. That's what I did there. Now to kill a process, because sometimes it's useful to terminate a process. If you've got a long-running thing or it's locking up your system, this tends to happen if you try to do an update and your DNS is down, so your update freezes and you have to kill it. Control C will of course kill what's going on in your system, in your terminal live. But sometimes there's background processes associated with that, and you have to go through and kill all of those. So you can kill or terminate the process using the kill command, and either the job number with a % in front of it, or the process ID, which you get from the PS, which wasn't working for me for some silly reason. And sometimes that doesn't work, so you need to use -9, the kill -9 option, and that's like God mode. That's uninterruptible. It will kill anything. It's like playing Doom and being able to shoot through walls, if anyone remembers those days. So let's have a peek at some of those. I'm going to do my... Do I still have that running? Oh, I do. Look at that. So PS. So let's see that running in the background. So let's kill... Let's see if this works now. 147566. Oh, it didn't kill it. Let's try -9. And look at that, it died. It says it was killed. So for some reason it was, that couldn't go through, this did. Interesting. So play around with those, and you will in the tutorial. Finally, a bit on aliases. This is a short week. So aliases are useful for creating nicknames for existing commands. So if you're more of a Windows user and you don't necessarily remember what dir does or what ls does, you could set an alias for dir and set it to equal ls. And we're going to look at that. This is setting another alias for a longer command with some options. So if there's any space in here, you need to require the single quotes. And this is setting an alias command for clear file to equal cat dev null with a single redirection symbol. And you should understand what that does now. That's just going to cat the contents of the black hole and override a file when you use that with clear file and a file. Aliases only work in your current login shell unless you set them in particular startup files in your system that you're going to learn more about later in the semester. But you can simply remove these from memory with unalias and then the name of the alias, if you so choose. We've looked at your history already by scrolling up and down to go through the last couple of commands that you issued and using the history command. I think we've used the history command. All of these are stored in a hidden file in your home directory called bash history, and we know it's a hidden file because it has a dot in front of it. So you can use your up and down arrows to scroll through these. FC-L will give you the last 16 commands that you've issued. History will give you all of the commands. You're probably going to want to pipe that to more just to see things a little bit at a time. You can re-execute a command by referencing either the number or a partial command, so with an exclamation mark in front of it. So exclamation mark and the number that you obtained from your history command will run that command. Exclamation mark and a partial command will run the last command that you issued that started with that string. which could be useful. I actually use this one all the time at home. So let's take a peek at those. So I'm going to do an alias dir equals ls. Now I can use dir just like I could ls. If I want to remove alias, unalias, dir, and then I try to type dir again, that one seems to be set in the system. So that's not a useful example, is it? Alias. Let's move on to our second one. Clear file, right? Clear file equals cat dev null like that. And now I'm going to create a file and then I'm going to clear it. Do I have a sample.txt here? No, I don't. Perfect. So let's echo this is some text, and I'm going to redirect that to sample.txt. And then cat sample. There we go. And hey, look at that. I made a typo. That's fine. We're going to get rid of it anyway. I use my clear file alias, and then I check out what's in sample.txt again. And look at that. It's gone. Let's reference my history. So there's everything in my history. So if I wanted to reinstate my alias, well, I could type exclamation mark and 2123 because that was my command history number there. I can also just do that, right? And that gives me the partial thing. And if I want to unalias that, well, I could whoops. I could get rid of it again. So if I wanted to, there we go, create my alias, history. So I've got where I got rid of it, 2131. Wait, how did I do the other one? Hold on a second. Now I'm all confused. I think I did that right. Whoops, ALIAS. Helps when you spell right. So there you go. It's kind of, in a nutshell, how those work. And of course, I want to get some more practice with that ignore the assignment 2-bit in your week 8 tutorial, investigations 2 and 3, which map to practice questions 3 through 8. That's it for this week. Good luck on your test. Don't forget to do that. That is available all this week. Take care. Be safe. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you in our lab class. Bye for now.